So I'm wondering what I've been doing these last weeks, actually. Let me begin with thanks. Thank you, Chair Sanborn, for that generous introduction, and for your leadership of our Board of Trustees, a dedicated and formidable group. Thank you to the Mills staff who have made this event possible and who have answered my many, many questions. Thank you to our city's leader, Mayor Schaaf, for her unwavering support of both Mills and higher education. Thank you, Provost Dorr, for your words of welcome and your leadership of the great University of California. And thank you to those bringing greetings on behalf of our beloved Mills alumna and fierce representative in the United States Congress, Barbara Lee. Thank you to the students, alumni and alumni, delegates, faculty, staff, college officers, and trustees who have joined the families and friends of Mills who are here today. I'm humbled that no fewer than 2 links in the chain, Presidents Holmgren and President DeCudro are here today to join me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm also deeply grateful to those who believed in me at the start of my academic career, including Ray Solomon, who is here today representing Rutgers University and who taught me so much, and Alice Deeker, who also played a leading role. Thank you, too, to my family, some of whom are often here with me at Mills: Trish, Katie, Bisbee, Elena, Vivian, and Joey, some of whom made long trips to be here: Jean, Nick, Will, Evelyn, Chris, and Teresa, Bobby, Martin, and Mike, some of whom have already left us, including Trish's father and my own mother and father. They would have been so happy to see me here with you. I used to teach not so long ago. I used to tell my students, whether they were writing papers or briefs or speeches, that a title could be a big help in figuring out what they were trying to say. Since I struggled a bit myself with figuring out what to say, which I attribute to my lack of experience in the inaugural department, I spent some time thinking about a title. I considered the kinds of titles that are common at academic conferences, from educating the daughters of missionaries to challenging the gender binary, 164 years of learning on the edge. True, but clunky. I thought about some one-word options: now, bold, proud. But those ring like commands on a military drill field and fail to convey the external impact and internal transformation that makes Mills so compelling to me. So I settled on a more ordinary, 5-word, 25-character title: Why the World Needs Mills. The world needs Mills because we've proven we can change, because a Mills education leaves people different than when that education began, and because, given the world we've built and inherited, we desperately need those qualities: the ability to evolve and to transform in both our institutions of higher education and in ourselves. I ask you to join me for the next few minutes in thinking about why the world needs Mills. I'll raise just 3 of many reasons, and I'll close with a note about why I think I belong here. The first reason the world needs Mills: because Mills has evolved, adapting to the changing world around us. There have been many iterations of Mills College. We've adapted to meet the demands of each moment in our history. Far from being a constant, Mills has been a variable. Mills has literally turned things around more than once. Lisser Hall, which is right behind me, built as a Greek revival building, was converted to Spanish colonial style by architect Walter Ratcliffe and reversed, so it now faces the opposite direction from its original design, which was oriented toward the college's then primary entrance, the now closed Wetmore Gate. Other Mills buildings have been similarly inverted. The Vera M. Long Building for the Social Sciences, up the hill here, used to face not toward the center of our current campus, but backward, evident in the gorgeous tiled entrance that is now a little used back door. The Mills College Art Museum was also turned around because of our changing cityscape and campus, as the Oakland streetcar that once dropped patrons at the door stopped running, and our campus grew behind the former back of the museum. Growth as well as turnarounds have characterized Mills. At our start, we awarded but a handful of high school diplomas each year. In the past 12 months alone, more than 500 students have earned bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees at Mills. In 1852, when the seminary that became Mills was first established, there were fewer than 93,000 Californians, perhaps 1,500 of whom lived in Oakland, a far cry from the thriving, complicated state of 39 million and city of 400,000 that we live in today. When Mills Seminary was officially incorporated as Mills College in 1885, we reported, among other assets, 4,000 volumes in the library, 22 pianos, 3 of them grand, 400 framed pictures and 600 unframed pictures, and 5 horses and 10 cows. Today we have more than 262,000 volumes in our library, 54 pianos, 23 of them grand, a collection of more than 11,000 works of art, and no horses and no cows. Mills people have changed just as dramatically as its material. No students of color, that is, no African American, American Indian, Asian, Latinx, Native Alaskan or Pacific Islander, or bi or multiracial students that we know of graduated from Mills before 1900. With the National Museum of African American History and Culture opening tomorrow in Washington, D.C., it's worth noting that no African American or Black student graduated from Mills until 1947. Today, as you heard from our chair, our students are more than half persons of color, our faculty nearly 1/3. In terms of racial and ethnic diversity, Mills today looks a lot like California. We fit right into a state and region that have led the way in recognizing civil rights and human dignity by being a place where our students, 40% of whom identify as LGBTQ or other when asked about their sexual orientation and gender identity, can be and find themselves. It's not only the color and number of Mills students that have changed, it's also their ways of life. In 1885, Mills' summer vacation was only 9 weeks long, just enough to allow, quote, all the pupils to return to their homes. Those early Mills students were young, unmarried, and childless. They were well-versed in Greek and Latin classics before they were admitted. They attended to their studies full-time, and they did not expect to undertake paid work. Today, most of our students not only expect to work for pay after graduation, they work during their years at Mills, both to cover their expenses and to build bridges to rewarding careers. Last summer, Mills itself employed 138 students for an average of 11 weeks. Many other students spent the entire summer working in paid and unpaid internships and positions. In 1885, Mills had 8 endowed scholarships to help, quote, worthy pupils of limited means. Today, we serve the same goal with more than 200 active endowed scholarship funds. And today, Mills has won top honors as a best value college in a crowded landscape of higher education options. We've become a place where an extraordinary education is affordable and accessible to an inclusive community of thinkers, artists, and innovators who are committed to gender and racial justice. So that's the first reason the world needs Mills, because we can change. It also needs us because our students change themselves and then the world. Because all of the students who have come to Mills, now and in the past, grow and learn and change, often profoundly. Mills is not, and has not been, a place for those satisfied with who they are and what they know. those who want to find a new path or a more fully realized self. Those are the students who belong at Mills. Our students change through their interaction with our faculty, who themselves set the bar high for adaptability to a changing world. Mills faculty in the natural sciences have found new projects and developed new areas of expertise to pursue research alongside their students. Mills' English department includes scholars whose work in the digital humanities applies the newest of data analysis to well-traveled texts. And all of our faculty seek to teach in ways that meet the intense engagement that Mills students bring to their studies, whether in studio arts or public policy or psychology. Mills students and graduates have forged lives that defy easy categorization. I can't do justice to the rich tapestry of our 23,000 alumni and alumni, but I can share stories of three. Emma Wixon, Nevada, who graduated 14 decades ago, Patsy Peng, who graduated 7 decades ago, and Bonnie G. Hill, who graduated 4 decades ago, to give you a sense of their impact. Emma Wixon's father, a doctor whose fortune was made and lost mining in the Nevada Territory, sent Emma to Mills after her mother died in the 1870s. A musical prodigy who had entertained miners with her singing as a child, Emma's talent and charisma captured the attention of Susan Mills, co-founder and 4th president of Mills College, who arranged for Emma to study in Europe. Known worldwide as Emma Nevada, she sang before kings and queens, eventually returning in 1902 to perform before a packed house in the just-opened Lisser Hall. Moving ahead a half century and across the world to a second Mills story. Born and raised in Beijing, Patsy Peng endured the hardships of World War II in China, where her boldness and language facility won her a position as an English secretary to a Chinese general supporting the U.S. 14th Air Force. Soon after, Patsy accepted a U.S. presidential scholarship to Mills, where she found her reading assignments nearly too much to bear at first. With the help of a supportive dean of students, she reduced her course load and persevered, earning bachelor's and master's degrees in education and child development that were a springboard to her later work as a teacher, fundraiser, organizer, artist, and benefactor of the current Chinese language program here at Mills. And finally, one more story of Mills' own, a little closer to our own time and place, another living alumna. Bonnie G. Hill studied education at Mills in the 1970s and went on to a dazzling career as an executive in business and government. A graduate of McClymonds High School here in Oakland, she worked full-time while studying at Mills and caring for her husband and young daughter. After graduating, she was appointed Assistant Dean of Student Services and Interim Director of Ethnic Studies at Mills. She later became the first African-American woman to direct the Federal Office of Consumer Affairs, Vice President of the Times-Mirror Company and CEO of the Times-Mirror Foundation, Dean of the School of Commerce at the University of Virginia, and board member of several Fortune 500 companies. The lives of just these few Mills alumni demonstrate how much our students are able to change the world, bringing us to the third and final reason I'll mention that the world needs Mills, because that world could benefit from some change. The world needs Mills because it needs something new, because it is asking more of us, or at least as much as it's asked of those who came before us. The world needs Mills because education is one of the answers to virtually every problem you can imagine. We need more education and more transformation in our educational institutions to deal with issues as tough and complex as climate change, racial and gender violence, infectious disease, and religious intolerance. We also need better education to deal with a more concrete, specific problem that's close to home for Mills and for other institutions committed to gender justice. At a college dedicated to women-centered education and supported by the contributions of so many women, The unequal pay of women compared to men is a big problem. A New York Times CBS poll conducted 2 weeks ago reported on this very issue. Respondents were asked what women doing work similar to men are paid. More than half of the men and nearly 3/4 of the women answered correctly, that women are paid less than men doing similar work. It's true across virtually every demographic we can study. Even if we control for variables like region, work experience, race, occupation, and industry, the fact that workers are women correlates to lower pay. Women in the United States who work full-time are paid 79 cents for every dollar paid to men who work full-time. For Latinas, the figure is 55 cents. For African American women, 60. The income of transgender women falls by an average of 1/3 after they transition. Lesbians earn less than men. Young women earn less than young men. Older women earn less than older men. When large numbers of women move into a field previously occupied by men, wages drop. What helps? Education. It changes the score. It rebalances the scales. What we do here at Mills helps every one of those demographic groups. The unmatched value of education is why the Oakland Promise, Mayor Schaaf's pledge to get more Oakland youth into and through college, a pledge that Mills and other colleges and universities have joined in making, matters. My faith in Mills and in the power of education to remake ourselves and our world is the reason that I belong at Mills. I've been lucky enough to change many times. I've been an orbital analyst and a saxophone player, an Air Force officer and a history professor, an advocate and expert witness for ending discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, which sounds pretty interesting, and an academic administrator, which does not. I find transformation in self and surroundings both exciting and inevitable. Yet many aspects of me have stayed the same. I'm still a twin, and my sister Jean Marie still pushes me and keeps me honest. I'm still a younger sister to my older brothers, one of whom is here today, Chris, who still inspires me to try to be a better person. I'm still a mother, and I still learn every day from each of our children, even though, or perhaps because, they're nearly all teenagers now. And I'm still in love with my brave, generous, powerful wife, Trish. And likewise, some things have stayed the same at Mills, notwithstanding all this change I've trumpeted. Despite its origins as a seminary, Mills was always an undenominational institution, unwilling to limit its community to one set of Christian beliefs at its start, and now open to persons of any or no tradition of faith. Mary Adkins, who met our founders, Cyrus and Susan Mills, in Honolulu, and taught and served as principal at Mills during the 1850s and 1860s, hoped her students would be, quote, useful, progressive, and intelligent, a hope that many of us here today share. For all the change in Mills' physical space that I've noted, a historian of women's colleges described the design of Mills as governed by, quote, hope rather than fear, unlike other women's colleges. That expansiveness, that hope, remains today. Aurelia Henry Reinhardt, a transformative president of Mills, number 6, spoke in Palo Alto in 1941 about the future of women in the university. She said that we must cease to apologize for the possession of intellect or talent and opt instead to come of age unselfconsciously. Mills will always be coming of age, and so will our students. I look forward to seeing that happen unapologetically and with tremendous hope for the future. Thank you.